Happiness isn't something that finds you. It's something you fight for every single day, even when the world tells you to give up. Your mind is either your prison or your playground, and the choice is yours. Pain will whisper lies, telling you to quit, but you have the power to answer with joy, because real happiness is a rebellion, not a reward. Most people wait for a reason to smile, but true strength is creating your own reason, no matter the storm. Life will knock you down, but your spirit decides whether you lie there or rise with a grin that scares the darkness away. Happiness is not a destination. It's a muscle. And if you don't train it when life is hard, it will wither when you need it most. Your circumstances don't define you. Your commitment to joy does. Every struggle is a test. Asking one question, will you let it break you, or will you push harder and smile through it? Life doesn't promise comfort, but it does promise opportunity. Happiness is claiming that opportunity, even when everything around you is chaos. Your mind is a garden. Feed it fear and weeds grow. Feed it happiness even when the soil is rocky, and watch life bloom anyway. You have to understand something fundamental about life. Happiness isn't something that just falls into your lap. Happiness isn't waiting for you on the other side of success, money, or recognition. Happiness is not a consequence of perfect circumstances. It is a decision you make right here, right now, in the midst of your struggles. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." That is not just philosophy. That is survival. That is strategy. You see, life will try to knock you off your balance every single day. It will hit you with bills you cannot pay, relationships that break, doors that close without warning. And in those moments, most people wait for permission to be happy. They wait for life to be easy. But if you wait for ease, if you wait for comfort, you will wait forever. True happiness is forged in the fire of choice. When I say choice, I mean it with everything inside me. You have to wake up each morning and tell yourself, I am going to be happy today, no matter what happens. Some of the greatest minds in history knew this. William James, the father of modern psychology, said, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes." Think about that for a moment. You can't always control the chaos outside, but you can control the storm inside. Your attitude, your mindset, your determination to find joy, they are yours to command. You see, life is always going to be hard. Life is always going to throw curveballs. But the difference between those who sink and those who soar is not the circumstance. It is the choice to pursue joy, even when the odds are stacked against you. I want you to picture a man sitting at a broken table, no food, no money, no hope on the surface. Most would say, how can I be happy now? But then there's another man in the same situation who looks up at the ceiling and whispers, I am still here. I am still breathing, and I will find the light in this darkness. That man is choosing happiness. That is discipline. That is power. Happiness is not something that happens to you. It is something you cultivate like a garden. You water it, you feed it, you protect it from weeds of doubt and despair. Seneca said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. See, happiness isn't about having more. It's about wanting less from the things that cannot satisfy you and finding more in the things that matter. And here's where most people fall short. They think they can outsource happiness. They think money will give it to them, or a relationship will hand it over, or success will finally deliver it. But those are illusions. The truth is, the moment you decide to be happy, even when life is hard, you unlock a strength no circumstance can ever take away. You start to notice the little victories, the small moments that others overlook. A sunrise, a laugh, a call from someone you love, a task completed despite exhaustion. These moments become the building blocks of joy, and over time they compound into something unstoppable. So push yourself. Make happiness your discipline, your habit, your rebellion against the weight of the world. Choose joy when it's inconvenient. Choose gratitude when it's uncomfortable. Choose to smile when nothing else makes sense. That is how you rise above circumstance. That is how you take control of your life. And when you do, when you finally understand that happiness is not a reward for the fortunate, but a decision for the courageous, you realize something beautiful. You are unstoppable. You see, life isn't supposed to be easy. If it were easy, everyone would be living their dreams, walking around fulfilled and smiling. But that's not reality. Struggle is part of the design. It's the pressure that molds you, the fire that tempers your character, the weight that strengthens your spirit. There's an old saying from Friedrich Nietzsche, that which does not kill us makes us stronger. Stronger, wiser, more resilient. The problem is, most people run the moment they feel the heat. They see hardship and immediately look for an escape, thinking if they just avoid the struggle, they will be happy. Let me tell you something. You cannot avoid life. Life is relentless. It will meet you whether you're ready or not. But here's the secret. The very thing you run from, the very obstacle you despise, has the power to transform you if you face it. I want you to imagine a blacksmith hammering metal over and over. Every strike, every blow leaves marks, but those marks shape the metal into a sword capable of cutting through anything. Your struggles are those blows. Pain, rejection, failure. They leave scars, yes, but they also leave strength. Thomas Carlyle said, adversity is the first path to truth. There is no shortcut. You cannot bypass difficulty and expect to become a person of unshakable joy and power. Struggle is the teacher, the mentor, the coach that life sends to show you your potential. And the moment you embrace it, the moment you stop running, that's when transformation begins. Here's a practical truth. Happiness does not exist outside the storm. You cannot wait for smooth roads to feel joy. A farmer does not wait for perfect weather to plant seeds. He works the soil, fights the drought, and tends his crops, knowing that growth requires effort. So it is with life. The moments you least want to face, the debt, the heartbreak, the failure, are exactly the moments that teach you how to cultivate your inner joy. Every time you push through discomfort, every time you refuse to quit, you are proving to yourself that happiness is not fragile. It is born in persistence, in endurance, in courage. And make no mistake, embracing struggle does not mean you glorify pain for the sake of suffering. It means you recognize it as a vehicle for greatness. Booker T. Washington once said, nothing ever comes to one that is worth having except as a result of hard work. Your joy, your peace, your sense of fulfillment, it all comes through work, through effort, through engagement with life's challenges. Stop wishing life would be easier. Stop wishing the pain would vanish. The moment you face it, the moment you wrestle with it, you rise above it. That is empowerment. That is victory. So push yourself to welcome hardship, to confront it with grit and determination. See every obstacle as an opportunity to discover strength you didn't know you had. Each struggle, each trial is a test of your commitment to happiness. You will not always control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And in that response, in that decision to face life and not flee, you find a joy deeper than circumstance could ever touch. You know, most people chase happiness like it's some distant finish line, but the truth is, joy isn't found out there. It's cultivated inside, and gratitude is the soil it grows from. Gratitude is powerful because it changes how you see the world. It flips the lens. Instead of focusing on what's missing, it teaches you to notice what's already here. Cicero once said, gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. Think about that. When you are grateful, everything else starts to shift. You start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles, lessons instead of failures, abundance instead of scarcity. Here's the reality. Life will give you reasons to complain every day. You will lose, you will fail, people will disappoint you, and circumstances will push against you. But even in the darkest moment, there is something to appreciate. Maybe it's the roof over your head, the air in your lungs, the people who still care. Maybe it's the fact that you woke up today with the chance to try again. You see, when you actively practice gratitude, you are pushing yourself to be happy even when the world feels heavy. It's a conscious rebellion against misery, a decision to celebrate life despite the pain. Let me give you an example. Imagine a man who lost everything, his job, his house, even his closest friends turned away. Most people would sink into despair. But this man wakes up and counts the small things. He still breathes. He still has hands to work with. He still has a mind capable of planning a comeback. That simple act of noticing what is good fuels a fire inside him. It turns despair into determination. Gratitude doesn't remove hardship, but it reshapes your experience, giving you the mental edge to push forward. And let's be clear, gratitude is a muscle. It must be exercised daily. Abraham Lincoln said, "I am a success today because I had a friend who believed in me and I didn't have the heart to let him down." That's gratitude in action, recognizing the value in others, in circumstances. In every single lesson life delivers, even when it hurts, it doesn't require perfect conditions to practice. You don't need everything to be in place to start being grateful. You just need awareness and discipline. The more you practice, the more your mind will instinctively look for what is good, even in challenges, and the more your happiness becomes unstoppable. So push yourself to notice what you often take for granted. Speak it out loud. Write it down. Thank someone every day. Start small. Gratitude is a habit, a superpower, and a shield against despair. The more you wield it, the stronger you become. When life is hard, and it will be, you will find that joy doesn't depend on luck. It depends on choice. And gratitude is the key to making that choice again and again. You have to understand something crucial. Life will constantly throw things at you that are beyond your control. People will disappoint you. The economy will shift. Plans will fall apart. And sometimes the world will feel like it's against you. Most people spend their energy fighting what they cannot change. And in doing so, they drain their spirit, their happiness, and their power. But the truth is, you cannot control everything. And trying to do so is a recipe for misery. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Think about that. It's not the events, it's your response that defines your life. Your happiness is never dictated by circumstance. It's dictated by your focus, your decisions, and your mindset. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine a man stuck in traffic on his way to an important meeting. He could scream, slam the steering wheel, and let his anger ruin his day. Or he could take a deep breath, accept that he cannot control the cars around him, and use the time to listen to a podcast, practice gratitude, or plan his next steps. That choice to control what you can and release what you cannot is what separates the person who is happy despite chaos from the person who is constantly frustrated and defeated. Happiness thrives in the space where you focus on effort, action, and perspective, not on events you have no power over. Another practical truth is that control is about priorities. You have limited energy, limited time, and limited focus. If you pour it all into worrying about what others think, stressing about things outside your reach, or lamenting the unfairness of life, you starve your spirit. Theodore Roosevelt once said, "Do what you can with what you have where you are." That is control. That is empowerment. That is how you push yourself to be happy even when life is hard. You focus on the things that matter, your attitude, your actions, your discipline, and you let go of the rest. And make no mistake, letting go does not mean giving up. It means you stop wasting energy on the uncontrollable and invest it where it counts. You stop letting external chaos dictate your internal peace. You start building a fortress of resilience inside your mind, a place where happiness cannot be taken from you by circumstance. Every time you release what you cannot control, you reclaim your power. Every time you focus on what you can, you strengthen your capacity for joy. So here's the challenge. Look at your life today. Identify the things you've been obsessing over, stressing about, or resisting, things outside your control. Now, release them, accept them, and shift your focus to what you can influence: your effort, your choices, your mindset. That shift, my friends, is where happiness is born. That is where peace lives. And once you master that, you realize something profound. No circumstance can ever rob you of your joy unless you let it. Listen to me carefully. Your mind is like a garden, and whatever you plant there will grow. If you feed it fear, doubt, and negativity, that is exactly what will blossom in your life. But if you feed it hope, strength, and positive thoughts, that is what will flourish. The great philosopher Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Most of the unhappiness we experience is self-created, built in the mind. You have to guard what you allow into your mental space, because your thoughts are the architects of your happiness. Think about this: the media you consume, the conversations you engage in, the stories you tell yourself, these are seeds. Are you planting weeds, or are you planting life? A man who constantly listens to complaints, gossips, and negativity will slowly start to mirror that in his own life. But a man who fills his mind with uplifting literature, inspiring stories, and empowering ideas builds resilience. Practical example. Imagine a young man sitting alone, feeling defeated after repeated failures. He could spend hours scrolling through social media, comparing himself to others, letting envy and despair creep in. Or he could listen to speeches that ignite his ambition, read a passage from Marcus Aurelius, or reflect on his small victories. Which path do you think leads to joy? The choice is yours, but the difference is night and day. Remember, your mind is a weapon. You can use it to defeat yourself, or you can use it to propel yourself forward. Plato once said, the beginning is the most important part of the work. What you feed your mind every morning, every day, sets the tone for everything else. If you start your day with negativity, fear, or doubt, that is what will dominate your actions. But if you start with positivity, vision, and gratitude, even when life is hard, you create a ripple effect that changes your entire day, your entire week, your entire life. Here's another example. Imagine a person facing financial hardship. Every time a bill arrives, they could spiral into stress, panic, and hopelessness. But if they actively feed their mind with solutions, ideas, and encouragement, they begin to see possibilities instead of barriers. Happiness isn't the absence of challenges, it's the presence of perspective. When your mind is nourished with positivity, you begin to reframe problems as opportunities, setbacks as lessons, and hardships as fuel for growth. So push yourself, feed your mind with what uplifts you. Read, reflect, listen, and surround yourself with thoughts and people that expand your vision, not limit it. Protect your inner world as fiercely as you protect your body, your happiness, your peace, your resilience. They all depend on what you let in. And once you commit to this, once you guard your mind and consciously fill it with life-giving, empowering ideas, you'll notice something incredible. Even when the world is against you, even when life is crushing, your spirit remains unshakable, your joy unbreakable, because your mind has been trained to thrive. Happiness doesn't wait. Happiness doesn't sit on the sidelines and wait for permission to show up in your life. Happiness loves motion. You have to move for it. You have to chase it. You have to earn it through your actions. James Allen once said, "You are today where your thoughts have brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you." But thoughts alone are not enough. You can dream all day, plan all night, but without action, joy remains a distant idea. You have to push yourself to act. Even when life is hard, even when it hurts, even when the odds are against you, that is where transformation begins. Let me be clear. Action doesn't have to be grand to be effective. Small steps, repeated consistently, build momentum. Imagine a young woman struggling to start her career. She could stay in bed every morning, thinking about how unfair life is, wishing things were easier. Or she could take one small step each day, update her resume, make a call, apply for a position. That tiny action compounds. That tiny motion creates confidence. That tiny motion sparks hope. Happiness is not waiting for a big win. It's found in the courage to keep moving when nothing seems to be going your way. Even in the midst of hardship, action gives you control. It transforms fear into energy, despair into determination, and pain into purpose. Leonardo da Vinci said, "Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Being willing is not enough, we must do." You may feel stuck, tired, beaten down, but when you choose to act, even imperfectly, you reclaim power. Every step you take toward progress, no matter how small, generates a sense of accomplishment, a spark of joy that cannot be taken by circumstance. Think about athletes who face setbacks. Injuries, losses, and doubts could destroy their spirit. But the ones who rise early, train consistently, and take action despite the pain, they discover joy in their perseverance. They realize that happiness is not external. It is a byproduct of doing, of moving, of refusing to stay paralyzed by fear. The same principle applies to life. You cannot wait for the storm to pass. You must learn to dance in it, and dancing begins with motion, begins with action. So push yourself. Don't wait for the perfect moment. the perfect opportunity, or the perfect feeling. Start where you are. Start now. Happiness will follow the movement of your body, the energy of your effort, and the consistency of your discipline. You will feel it in the little victories, in the steps forward, in the momentum you build. And slowly, step by step, day by day, your joy grows, not because life has become easy, but because you have become relentless. You have to understand this. Your environment, the people you spend your time with, the energy you allow into your life, it shapes you more than you realize. Happiness doesn't exist in isolation. You cannot cultivate joy in a room full of negativity, doubt, and cynicism. As Jim Rohn, the great philosopher of personal development, said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That is not just advice. It is a truth that will determine the quality of your life. You have to choose your inner circle carefully, because those who lift you will pull you higher, and those who drag you down will anchor your spirit. Think about a young man who dreams of building a business. If he surrounds himself with people who complain, who doubt, who tell him he cannot succeed, he will slowly begin to mirror that negativity. His confidence will shrink, his vision will fade, and his happiness will vanish. But if he surrounds himself with people who challenge him, inspire him, and support his growth, even in the midst of hardship, he begins to feel empowered. He begins to see the possibilities instead of the obstacles. That energy fuels action. That energy sparks resilience. That energy makes happiness not only possible, but inevitable. Even in difficult times, the right people can remind you of your worth, redirect your focus, and lift you when life feels heavy. Consider a student facing repeated failure in school. Alone, the frustration may turn into despair, but with mentors, teachers, or friends who encourage, correct, and believe in her potential, she finds the courage to keep pushing. Aristotle said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Surrounding yourself with energy that lifts you nurtures both your mind and your heart. It gives you a safe space to grow, to heal, and to cultivate happiness even when the world is harsh. Now, practical action. Evaluate your circle. Who makes you feel strong, alive, and motivated? Who drains you, doubts you, or spreads fear? You must decide whose voices you amplify in your life and whose influence you remove. Happiness cannot coexist with constant exposure to toxic energy. You are responsible for what you allow in your inner world. Every conversation, every relationship, every connection is either a brick in the foundation of your joy or a weight dragging you down. So push yourself. Choose wisely. Seek those who inspire, challenge, and encourage you. Let go of those who feed negativity, doubt, or envy. When you build a circle of energy that lifts you, your spirit becomes unshakable. Your joy becomes a shield against life's hardships. And when life hits, when challenges arrive, you will stand tall, fueled by the collective energy of those who believe in you and remind you of your potential. That, my friends, is how happiness grows in the midst of struggle. It is nurtured by the people and energy you surround yourself with. Most people underestimate the power of small victories. They wait for monumental success, for a life-altering breakthrough, and in doing so, they miss the joy that is already present in every step forward. But happiness, real happiness, doesn't only come from grand achievements. It is found in recognizing the progress you make every day, no matter how small. The ancient philosopher Lao Tzu said, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." That first step, that small victory, is where your joy begins, and it compounds over time. Let me give you an example. Imagine a young man trying to get healthy. The first time he runs a mile without stopping, most people would say it's just a mile. But that mile represents discipline, perseverance, and the courage to push beyond limits. Celebrating that mile fuels him to run further tomorrow. It is the same in life. Each small accomplishment, a completed task, a difficult conversation had, a goal partially achieved, is a building block of happiness. When you acknowledge these wins, you train your mind to focus on progress, not perfection. Even in the face of hardship, these small victories are anchors. Consider a woman struggling to rebuild her career after setbacks. Each resume sent, each interview completed, each skill learned is a triumph. By celebrating these, she shifts her mindset from despair to hope, from frustration to empowerment. Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And habits of celebrating progress, no matter how minor, create momentum and reinforce resilience. Your happiness grows not because life is easy, but because you recognize that you are moving forward, inch by inch, step by step. The key is intentionality. Don't brush off your accomplishments or wait for others to notice. Take ownership of your wins. Speak them aloud, write them down, reflect on them. By doing so, you actively train your mind to see the good amidst difficulty. You develop a resilience that cannot be shaken by setbacks because you are constantly reminded of your capacity to overcome, your ability to grow, and the progress you are making, even when life is hard. And here's another truth. Celebrating small wins builds confidence. It teaches you that you are capable, that effort matters, and that even the smallest steps forward are proof of your strength. Confucius once said, "It does not matter how slowly you go as long as you do not stop." Your small wins are proof that you are not stopping. Your small wins are proof that you are growing. And your small wins are the sparks that light the fire of happiness, even in the darkest seasons. So push yourself to notice, acknowledge, and celebrate every forward movement, no matter how minor it may seem. This habit transforms struggle into momentum, frustration into fulfillment, and effort into joy. Happiness is not waiting for perfection. It is choosing to honor every step along the way. You have to understand something. No one is going to hand you love, respect, or validation the way you need it. Life will challenge you, criticize you, and sometimes even betray you. But here's the truth. Your happiness depends on how you treat yourself. Self-love is not selfishness. It is a discipline, a daily practice that protects your spirit and fuels your joy. Michel de Montaigne once said, "The greatest thing in the world is to know how to belong to oneself." When you belong to yourself, when you honor and respect who you are, happiness becomes less about what life gives you and more about what you cultivate within. Let me break it down with an example. Imagine a young woman constantly doubting her worth because of criticism from family, peers, or society. She could let those voices define her, letting unhappiness take root. Or she could start every morning affirming her value, taking care of her mind and body, acknowledging her efforts, and forgiving her mistakes. That practice, however small, however daily, builds resilience and joy. It reminds her that she is worthy of happiness regardless of circumstance. Self-love is a choice, and choosing it consistently strengthens your ability to thrive even in hard times. Self-love also means setting boundaries. It means protecting your energy, refusing to tolerate abuse, toxicity, or unnecessary negativity. Buddha once said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." Recognize that protecting your heart is not optional, it's essential. Every time you honor your needs, every time you refuse to let others diminish your spirit, you are practicing self-love. You are pushing yourself to be happy, even when the world seems determined to pull you down. Another example comes from the world of work. Imagine a man who constantly overworks, sacrifices his health, and neglects his personal life to meet everyone else's expectations. Happiness escapes him because he never prioritizes himself. But when he begins to take care of his mental, emotional, and physical well-being, he starts to feel joy in small moments, exercise, reflection, learning, or rest. That is the power of self-love. It's a daily choice to value yourself, to honor your effort, and to nourish your spirit even when life is demanding. So push yourself. Make self-love non-negotiable. Speak kindly to yourself. Forgive yourself. Set boundaries and honor your growth. Remember, happiness is not dependent on approval or external validation. It is born from the unwavering respect and love you give to yourself. When you embrace this daily practice, when you consistently show up for yourself, even when life is hard, you build a foundation for joy that cannot be shaken by circumstance. Life will throw problems at you. Hardships will come. People will doubt you. Circumstances will push you to the edge. But here's the truth. Your problems only have power if they become bigger than your vision. If you let them dominate your mind, your spirit, and your energy, happiness will slip through your fingers. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic, said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your vision is the lens through which you interpret the chaos. When your vision is bigger than your obstacles, when your dreams are louder than your fears, happiness becomes a byproduct of purpose. Think about a young entrepreneur facing repeated rejection. Banks deny him loans. Mentors question his plan. Friends shake their heads. Most people in his position would quit. But a person with vision understands that each no is a step toward the yes that matters. He keeps his eyes on the long-term goal, not the short-term setbacks. Every challenge becomes a lesson. Every obstacle a stepping stone. Winston Churchill once said, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Courage is fueled by vision, and vision keeps your joy alive when life feels heavy. Vision also reshapes perspective. Problems that once felt insurmountable become temporary, manageable, even insignificant when compared to the larger purpose you are chasing. Consider a student working multiple jobs to pay for school. The stress is immense, exhaustion sets in, and doubt creeps in. But if she focuses on the vision, graduation, a career, the ability to help her family, those hardships transform into motivation. Happiness grows in this space, not because the situation is easy, but because her eyes are on the prize, not the struggle. Here's another truth. Without vision, even success can feel hollow, but with vision, even failure has meaning. Every setback becomes a lesson, every challenge an opportunity to refine strategy, and every hardship a reminder of your resilience. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." Vision forces you to create, to innovate, to rise above limitations. It keeps your happiness alive by giving your effort meaning, even when the world seems relentless. So push yourself to keep your vision bigger than your problems. Let it guide your decisions, fuel your actions, and protect your joy. Let it remind you that no hardship is permanent, no obstacle is insurmountable, and no moment of struggle can steal the life you are determined to build. When your vision is clear and unwavering, happiness is no longer a matter of circumstance. It is a byproduct of your relentless pursuit of purpose, growth, and excellence. So now, listen carefully. Happiness is not a reward. It is a choice. It is a muscle you strengthen every day. Even when life is hard, you must decide to embrace the struggle, to see challenges as lessons, and to find gratitude even in moments of pain. Feed your mind with positivity, take consistent action, surround yourself with energy that lifts you, and celebrate every small win along the way. Love yourself fiercely, protect your spirit, and never forget that your vision must always be bigger than your problems. These are not just ideas, they are principles that create unshakable joy and resilience. Now here's the call to action today. Right now, commit to choosing happiness. Look at your life and identify one action you can take immediately to feed your mind, strengthen your spirit, or move toward your vision. Start small, start now, and keep going. Because happiness is not waiting for you. It is waiting for the person willing to push through, to fight, and to rise. Stand up, take control, and make today the day you decide that no circumstance, no hardship, and no obstacle will ever determine your joy again.